Well, hey y'all, welcome back. First off, we're gonna have ourselves an elemental shaman duel. Nothing really happens much. I just want to show you guys how we just kill each other's capacity totems constantly. On that note, seriously, I think totems in general just should be balanced around not being killable. Because in arenas, they're probably gonna get killed, especially in high-level arenas. They're gonna get killed instantly, a lot of them, or at least in less than 5 seconds. And if Shaman's gonna be balanced, we need to be balanced around taking that into account. So I think totems should be invulnerable, just balanced around not being killable. But if they are killable, we need to be balanced around considering that they're just gonna be killed off, like fairly quickly. And that one talent helps a lot. But as long as we need that friggin' totemic projection, it's not going to be useful. We're not going to be able to use it. The talent that reduces the cooldown if the totem's killed early, that could help. But we need to be balanced around totems getting killed off. I'm just assuming they will be. So I want to talk about elemental shamans besides just showing how capacitor totems just get killed. It seems to me that Thunderstorm is kind of screwing Elemental over. And I want to know, I know a lot of LAs are unhappy with their spec, but I want to know if they'd be willing to give up the insane knockback on Thunderstorm for some better mobility or perhaps survivability or something, whatever they want to for their class. Because Thunderstorm, when you compare, because Thunderstorm's screwing their balance up because of the randomness. I guess in world PvP it's going to be pretty crazy when you knock people off cliff, and in battlegrounds too. But also in arenas, especially in arenas. If you do compare Blade's Edge and the Grand or the new one, if shamans are bounced around, like being able to knock people off pillars on Blade's Edge, they're just going to suck in the Grand because they can't do that. And the Thunderstorm's just been such a key kind of spec defining ability to shamans. I guess that's why Blizzard decided to reduce the cooldown to 17 seconds, which is going to be pretty crazy. 17-second cooldown on Thunderstorm, massive knockback. But they reduced the cooldown because they said, we're balancing Ellie around this one ability anyways, might as well reduce it. I'm wondering if people will be willing to make. I think the knockback should be more like Dragon's Roar. I think it should be pretty much exactly like Dragon's Roar. And then Ellie can get better mobility and anything else elemental shamans want. But before that happens, it seems kind of ridiculous. He just DCs or AFKs or something, and I just finish him off. And then a rogue completely finishes him. I try to catch him, but he gets away. Slippery bastard. I don't have any AoE to get him out. He just disappears, runs off. So another thing I want to talk about though is RNG. RNG in general. But at first it looked like they were taking steps in Mist to reduce RNG a bit or a lot. Then I looked at some of the classes, and it hardly seems the case. And that's especially for Elemental Shaman. They have their Mastery. They have Clear Casting, procs off crits. They have Instant Lava Burst now, proccing off Flame Shock ticks. Which seems weird because Lava Burst was supposed to be just like a guaranteed burst ability that's available every 8 seconds or whatever the cooldown was, and it was supposed to be a non-RNG ability, but now they just introduced this RNG component to it. And then on top of that, if they get Echo of Elements, that's insane. That'll be crazy RNG. So much for Elemental. I mean, that's way worse than Season 2 when they had stuns proccing off these weapons that warriors were getting, or any two-handed melee were getting. And really, I thought they were gonna reduce that in Mist. Well, they should, if they're really serious about making PvP better, and I think they should. But also, even beyond that, I would think even critical hits shouldn't be 200% damage. I think all critical hits should be 150%. And I know a lot of shamans especially are pissed off about Blizzard and just get about this expansion, about lack of changes and kind of not fixing things. Perhaps fixing some things, but still a lot of problems from reading the forums and everything. But some of them are happy. But you know, I try not to get mad, but one thing I'm definitely mad about is how they increased the healing to 200% last expansion. I know they did. I know they had to do that because they messed up when they reduced the effectiveness of resilience, and they didn't take into account the third stat, the secondary stat, mastery, that was just gonna make damage and effectiveness scale like crazy. But then they said that they had been wanting to increase the effectiveness of healing or heal crits, and that they were like planning to, and it's something they were looking to do. And it's like they totally forgot why they had spells critically hit for 50% more in the first place, just because they're fewer and far in between. When you have RNG for 200% on massive hits from whatever, especially heals. Heals are like way bigger than a frostbolt, than a shatter. They can be. Oh, right here. I didn't know what happened. I had to watch this thing 5 times to figure out what happened in dueling this guy. So Frostbomb's on me, counterspells me, I drop a grounding totem, Frostbomb explodes immediately, and it eats the grounding totem, but the AoE still hits me. And so it hits me with a frost jaw, and it was just a silence and a root at the same time, and then just casts a frostbolt in my face. And I die! And right then I get a Maelstrom proc. So I might have been, if that Frostbomb didn't hit the grounding totem, I might have been able to heal myself and kept going. So yes, but yeah, Mage Bombs should definitely not eat grounding totems. For sure. They need to change that, please. Quickly. Back to healing though. It legitimately pissed me off when they increased healing to 200% crits instead of 150. And that's what messed up Battlegrounds and healing in general. I'm pretty glad I didn't play season 11, this last season 11, because of that, but also because I've been hearing about all this rampant PvE gear in rated Battlegrounds and arenas, you know, rogues with their legendaries, but then also like these trinkets that does huge amounts of AoE. I mean, that's ridiculous. And just about PvE gear and PvP, I don't like PvE gear much. Well, I don't like raiding at all, and I don't really like it in PvP, but I'll actually be fine with it. Like if people want to use PvE gear, they have procs or on use abilities. I'll be fine with them being in the game as long as they have like at least 5 to 8% reduced damage, or they reduce the player's total damage by like 5 to 8%. If they, in exchange for these procs from weapons or something, or on use abilities, but they have to be, the DPS overall has to be lower than the best PvP gear, or else otherwise it's unacceptable. And so far they don't have PvP power on the weapons, which is worrying me, which they definitely need to have that. So I hope they get that in if they really want to make PvP better. But also, yeah, so that's that. But scaling from season to season is out of hand too. It's been out of hand. It's been way too big. That's one reason why a lot of people like BC, because from season to season, the stats on gear scaled from like 10%, and then once you get to Wrath, it goes up to 25% or so, and that just exacerbated, you know, scaling problems between classes and each of their stats. So the balance between seasons is so wild. And rather than just having to balance one season and let the rest of the expansion just flow from that, like they have to rebalance, just shifts from season to season. Wild, so big. That's why Warriors are Enhanced are kind of screwed right now in this last season. But in Cataclysm, Enhancement stats are going to be pretty interesting for one reason. A lot of our damage comes from passive attacks, which I don't think is a bad thing. I actually like it. Like, I'll tell you about something later in another video. But if that's the case, since it's the case that a lot of attacks come from auto swings, since we miss a lot, it means hit rating is going to be a viable stat in PvP. It won't help like our Ascendants at all, but we have a lot of abilities and passives that rely on our auto attacks, like Maelstrom Pox and the Unleashed Fury. So if that's the case and hit rating's a useful stat, that means we're going to scale a lot better than every other class. But shh, don't tell Blizzard that. But whatever. Maybe they'll fix it. later. But I think regardless, hit rating is going to be a useful stat to have. I'll go into that later, maybe in another video. So let's see. Oh yeah, but another thing about scaling. When you unsubscribe, there's an they ask you like why, and one of the PvP reasons was that PvP is too intimidating, and it's like, well, no, duh, PvP is too intimidating because right when people hit max level and maybe step into battleground or arenas, everyone else has 50% more stats than they do, and they just get stomped like crazy, and they can't do anything, and they can't learn the class, and they just don't want to deal with it. And so of course PvP is too intimidating if stuff scales like that, and the difference between PvE gear and PvP gear is so big, which, you know, the passive resilience that they're adding now I think is going to help a lot, you know, because people actually be able to PvP and get used to it while leveling and all that, so that's good. But still, I think they really need to reduce scaling, even though it seems like they're really paying attention to secondary scat scaling well for every class. I think they need to be even safer than that and just reduce the scaling from season to season overall. What's next? Oh yes, but we'll back to enhance. I think I had some other things, but I forgot. But one thing is our interrupts. I've been talking about, you know, our mobility and our passive survivability and all that, but our wind shear cooldown was increased by a lot, like 13 seconds, I think 12 seconds, which I'm actually glad it was, because wind shear on a 15-second cooldown in arenas was exhausting sometimes. Like, you had to watch your target, your focus, you had to watch purges, you know, you had grounding totem too. You just had to be watching it all the time, and then all your cooldowns from your just attacks, regular attacks, it could be exhausting a lot, and I would just get worn out sometimes after a couple hours of doing arenas or even battlegrounds maybe, or whatever, or duels. So I'm glad the cooldown was increased, because it's a bit more manageable now. Though I don't know why it's still not castle behind you. Counterspell is, everything else is, I think. Why wind shear isn't is a mystery. I think they should change that. But yeah, but besides that, but even I'm glad that the cooldown was increased. But now we don't have any interrupts. We don't have any anti-spells, any anti-spell abilities. We have grounding and that, and then maybe hex if you include it. You can include purge too, I guess, because that's kind of like an instant cast interrupt if you purge instant cast buffs or whatnot. But then if you compare it to something like warriors, I just looked at warriors' abilities now, and they have, let's count them, shall we? They have pummel, well, anything that can interrupt casting, I guess. Yeah, anything that can interrupt casting. They have pummel, charge, throwdown, spell reflect, mass spell reflect, interrupting shout, shockwave, heroic throw, silence with a glyph, storm bolt, and then I guess intimidating shout if you count that. So that's 10, or 9 to 10. 9 to 10 interrupts. And if you count, and we'll have 4, if you count our hex. Count our hex, purge, grounding, and wind shear. And I don't need, right now I'm not counting capacitor totem, because that's useless. Like, it's not reliable, and it's not even instant interrupt. So we have 4, and warriors can have up to 10 interrupts. I haven't counted all the abilities. I know rogues have a lot. Rets, I guess, don't have that much, but our healing better be off the charts. Our healing better be amazing to make up for that. Because we also have to make up for, like, Mortal Strike and stuff too. So our purge basically makes up for Mortal Strike. So our healing has to be pretty damn good to make up for lack of interrupts and other stuff. But we'll see. So yeah, this is the end of this video. Sorry if that wasn't too great or anything, but maybe we'll make it more. And thanks a lot for watching, guys. Subscribe if you want to be notified when I make additional ones. Other than that, thanks for everything, and let me know what you think about whatever. Adios.